If you'd told me a year ago that I'd fall for a guy in a committed relationship and that he'd fall for me too, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am. It started at work. Because of course it did. Where else do terrible ideas that turn into life-changing mistakes happen? I had just started a new job at this downtown creative agency. Social media clients, chaotic brainstorms, open floor plan, the usual. I was on the digital team. He was on strategy. Ben, 30, tall, confident in that disarming friendly way. Messy hair that looked intentional. Sharp jawline softened by this boyish smile that made people forgive him too easily. Everyone liked Ben. I did too, immediately. But he had a boyfriend, Nate. I knew this from day one. The framed photo on his desk, the two of them in Barcelona or Italy or somewhere that made you instantly feel poor. They looked good together, I'll admit it. Nate had that polished corporate charm. Nice teeth, pressed shirts, tailored pants. The kind of guy who never got drunk at office parties. The kind of guy who wins. So I didn't think much of it. I wasn't trying to be that guy. Honestly, I didn't even think Ben saw me like that. We got along. We laughed during meetings, texted occasionally about stupid memes, shared an Uber once when we both stayed late. Normal stuff. Until it wasn't. It started small. One night after work, we ended up staying late in a conference room. Everyone else had gone home, but we were still going over a campaign pitch for a picky client. I remember he looked up at me and said, "You're better at this than you think." It was a simple compliment, harmless, but it hit differently. Maybe because no one had said something like that to me in a while, or maybe because the way he said it felt personal. We started hanging out more, just the two of us. Coffee runs, late lunches. He started messaging me outside of work. At first, it was jokes and shared frustration about deadlines. Then it got deeper. He started opening up about stress, about how things with Nate weren't what they used to be, about how he felt like he was losing parts of himself in that relationship. I didn't ask for it, but I didn't stop it either. There was a moment, I remember it so clearly, when he showed up outside my apartment. It was a Friday night. I was getting ready to go out with friends when I got a text from him. "Are you home?" I said yes, figuring maybe he needed something work-related. 10 minutes later, he was at my door, looking tired and sad. Not dramatic crying sad, but the kind of quiet sadness that sits on someone's shoulders like it's been there a while. "I just needed to get out," he said. "Can I come in?" We didn't kiss that night. We didn't even sit too close. But we talked for hours. And when he left, I realized I wanted him to come back. Not as a friend, not as a coworker, but as something else. I tried to talk myself out of it, told myself it would pass, that he was just venting, that people in relationships get lonely sometimes, but that doesn't mean they want out. But the texts kept coming. And then one night, after too many drinks and way too much tension, it happened. We kissed. In the back of a cab. His hand found mine, and before I could think, his lips were on mine and I forgot how to breathe. The car was quiet except for the sound of the city passing by, but in that moment, I swear I could hear my own heart breaking in anticipation. He didn't say anything when he pulled away, just looked at me like he'd been waiting months to do that. And I knew I was in trouble. I didn't ask about Nate. I didn't want to. I told myself I'd just follow Ben's lead, let him decide what this was. But what I didn't realize then was how deep I'd already gotten. I wasn't the fun distraction anymore. I wasn't just some guy at work. I was the other guy, and I didn't want to be. After that kiss in the cab, everything changed. Ben didn't text me that night. He didn't text me the next morning either. I stared at my phone like a fool, refreshing the screen like maybe it had glitched and I'd missed his message. But nothing. Monday came. I walked into the office like I was wearing someone else's skin. I couldn't even remember what we were supposed to be working on. I just kept replaying that kiss in my head. The way he leaned in like it was instinct. The way his hand tightened around mine. The part of me that wanted it again, and the part of me that hated myself for wanting it. When I finally saw him at his desk, he looked up and gave me a soft, almost apologetic smile. Not a, hey, good morning kind of smile. More like the kind someone gives you at a funeral. We didn't talk. The rest of that week was a blur. We were civil, professional. Ben went back to texting in the group chat instead of sending me late-night, one-on-one messages. He stopped lingering near my desk. He became very, very good at pretending nothing had happened. I didn't. I started avoiding him. Not dramatically. Just small things. I'd take the longer route to the kitchen so I wouldn't pass his desk. I'd pretend to be on a call when I saw him heading toward the elevator. Childish, maybe, but it was the only way I could keep myself from falling into the spiral. Then one night, around 11 p.m., I was sitting on my couch with a beer, half watching some dumb Netflix show I wasn't following, when my phone buzzed. Ben, can I talk to you? My stomach dropped. I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. Me, now? Ben, yeah, I'm outside. I walked to the window and looked down. There he was, standing on the sidewalk with his hands in his coat pockets, looking up like he already knew I'd be watching. I buzzed him in without replying. When he stepped into my apartment, he looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was slightly messy from the wind, and he was still in work clothes, though his shirt was untucked and his tie loose around his neck. Hey, he said, like it was a normal night. I stood awkwardly in the middle of my living room, unsure if I should offer him a drink or ask him what the hell he was doing. I'm sorry, he said before I could say anything. For what? I asked, even though I knew. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. For everything. For dragging you into this. For kissing you. For ghosting you. All of it. Right, I said, arms crossed. So what was that kiss then? A mistake? He looked at me, really looked at me, and the silence hung thick between us. No, he said quietly. It wasn't a mistake. I waited, heart thudding in my chest. But I'm with Nate, he continued, and I've been with him for 5 years. We live together. We have a life. It's not perfect, but it's what I know. I nodded slowly. So what am I then? A distraction? A way to feel something because your relationship's stale? His face fell. No, it's not like that. Then what is it? I said, voice sharper than I intended. Because from where I'm standing, I'm the guy you come to when things with Nate aren't going your way. You don't get to make me your emotional side piece. Ben took a step toward me. You're not, I swear. You're more than that. Then why are you here? I asked. If you're not going to leave him, then what do you want from me? He hesitated, his mouth opening slightly like he had 100 things to say and no idea how to say any of them. I don't know, he finally whispered. That made me laugh. Bitterly. Great, that clears everything up. I just needed to see you, he said. Even if it's just for a minute. Even if it's selfish. It is selfish, I snapped. You don't get to do this. You don't get to walk into my life, mess with my head, kiss me, then disappear. And then show up when you're feeling lonely. That's not fair. He looked down, like a kid getting scolded. I know, he said. You're right. There was a long pause. He didn't move. Neither did I. I think I should go, he said finally, his voice small. And for a second, I wanted to stop him. I wanted to reach out and pull him back in. But I didn't. I let him walk out the door. He didn't text me again after that night. Days turned into weeks and life moved on. Or at least it tried to. But the worst part was, I couldn't stop hoping he'd come back. It's funny how you can miss someone who is never really yours. After Ben left that night, I kept waiting for the fallout. For some kind of confrontation. For the other shoe to drop. But it didn't. He didn't text me, didn't corner me at work, didn't call in the middle of the night, and I hated how much that hurt. We went back to being coworkers. Just that. He'd nod when we passed each other in the hall, throw in the occasional good idea during meetings. But the private jokes, the messages, the looks, all gone. Like someone had vacuum sealed all the air out of the space between us. The silence was maddening. I started going out more. Bars, brunches, anywhere with noise and people to fill the void. My friends noticed something was off, but I kept brushing it off as work stress. New client's a nightmare, I'd say, or I'm just tired. They didn't push. I kind of wish they had. One Saturday night, about a month after the kiss, I went to this rooftop party. One of those artsy types. String lights, overpriced drinks, half the people there trying to impress the other half with their minimal tattoos and knowledge of obscure wine. I was 3 drinks in, leaning against the railing, when I saw him. Ben! He was across the rooftop, talking to some guy the first didn't recognize. Not Nate. Definitely not Nate. He hadn't seen me yet, but I couldn't stop staring. He looked good. Relaxed. He laughed at something the guy said and touched his arm. That casual, intimate touch that he used to do with me when no one was watching. I felt it like a gut punch. Of course he was moving on. Of course he had someone else to fill the space I used to occupy. I turned away, trying to act like it didn't matter. Tried to focus on the girl next to me who was talking about how Mercury being in retrograde had ruined her week. But I wasn't listening. I couldn't. I didn't even realize he'd seen me until I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned. It was him. "Hey," he said, voice low. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep it casual even though my pulse was racing. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said, stepping closer. I could smell his cologne. Warm and familiar. "Guess we have mutual friends." I shrugged, forcing a smile. "You here with someone?" He hesitated. "Just some guys from work." "Right," I said, trying not to look over at the one he'd been touching. There was a pause. "You look good," he said, eyes scanning me briefly. "Different." "Yeah, well, moving on does that to a person." He winced at that. "I deserve that." "Yeah," I said. "You kinda did." He didn't argue, just nodded and looked down at his drink. "I've been meaning to text," he said after a beat. "Why didn't you?" He looked back up at me, and for the first time in weeks I saw it. That same expression he'd worn the night he showed up at my apartment. Tired. Lost. A little desperate. "I didn't know what to say," he admitted. "Everything feels stuck." I crossed my arms. "Still with Nate?" He didn't answer right away. "Yeah," he said finally. "But we've been on and off. He knows something's not right." I nodded slowly. "So what happens now, Ben? You keep stringing him along while flirting with me in hallways?" He stepped in closer, eyes serious. "I'm not stringing you along." Could have fooled me. "I'm trying," he said. I didn't expect any of this. I didn't expect you." That made my heart stutter. "I don't want to be the guy you come to when your relationship's in trouble," I said, voice quieter now. "I want to be more than the other guy, Ben. I deserve more than that." He looked at me for a long time. And then, finally, he said the thing I'd been aching to hear for weeks. "You're not the other guy." I blinked. "Then what am I?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. And then, like some cruel cosmic joke, we were interrupted. "Hey, babe," came a voice behind him. A tall guy with perfectly gelled hair and a craft beer in hand walked over and slipped an arm casually around Ben's waist. "Nate!" My breath caught in my throat. Nate looked at me and smiled, completely unaware. "Friend of yours?" Ben hesitated for a second too long. Then he nodded. "Yeah," he said. "Coworker." Coworker. I felt something inside me snap. "Nice to meet you," I said to Nate, my voice even. "Ben and I were just talking shop. I should get back to my friends." Without waiting for a response, I walked away. I didn't look back. I didn't cry that night. Not at the party, not on the walk home, not even when I got back to my apartment and stared at myself in the mirror with that look, the one where you know you've just been punched in the gut, but you're trying to hold it together because somehow crying would feel worse. It was the next morning that got me. I was making coffee, going through the motions, scrolling absently through my phone, and there it was, Ben's Instagram story. A boomerang of him and Nate clinking glasses at some brunch spot, smiling, effortless, like nothing had happened, like I wasn't even a footnote. I put the phone down and leaned on the counter, trying to breathe past the tightness in my chest. That's when the tears came. Not loud or dramatic, just slow and steady. The kind of crying you do when you realize the person you were waiting on has already made their choice. and it wasn't you. And yet, even then, I didn't block him. I didn't unfollow. I didn't delete the messages. I didn't remove the photo of us at that work happy hour, the one where we'd sat too close and cropped everyone else out when we posted it. I hated how much hope I still had, even after everything. That week at work was brutal. Every time I saw Ben, I felt like I was watching someone I used to know. He didn't act any different, still made the same dumb jokes during meetings, still smiled at everyone like nothing was wrong. And maybe nothing was, for him. But for me, it was like trying to breathe underwater. I started looking for new jobs, quietly, just to see what else was out there. I told myself it had nothing to do with him, that it was just time for a change. But the truth was, I couldn't keep watching him play house with someone else while pretending we hadn't had something real. And maybe it wasn't real for him. Maybe it was all just convenience and timing and a little bit of boredom. But it was real for me. Too real. 2 weeks later, I was at my desk on a Wednesday afternoon when I got a Slack message. Ben, got a minute? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Me, sure. We met in one of the small conference rooms, the kind with glass walls and just enough space for a table and 2 chairs. He closed the door behind him, but didn't sit. I'm sorry, he said straight off the bat. About the other night. About everything. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, waiting. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly agitated. I keep going in circles with this, he said, and I know that's not fair to you. I don't know how to do this. Do what? I asked. Tell the truth? Make a choice? He sighed. I care about you. You know I do. Do you? I asked, sharper than I meant. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you care more about convenience, about appearances. That's not it, he said, stepping closer. It's just, Nate and I have history, a life. It's not easy to walk away from that. I'm not asking you to walk away, I said. I'm asking you to be honest. With him, with me, with yourself. He looked at me, eyes searching mine like he was trying to find the answer written on my face. I don't want to lose you, he said quietly. But you already did, I replied. You just didn't notice. That hit him. He sat down finally, looking like someone who'd run out of options. I saw the way you looked at him, I continued. At Nate. At the party. Like I was invisible. You weren't, he said. Maybe not to everyone. But to you? Yeah, I was. He didn't argue. There was a long silence, the kind that settles between people who've both said too much and not enough. I'm sorry, he said again. That's all I've got. I nodded, standing up. Then maybe you should go say it to the person you owe it to most. His face twisted in confusion. You mean you? No, I said. I mean him. I walked out of that room without looking back. I didn't know if it was the end. But for the first time in weeks, I hoped it was. I didn't expect to hear from Ben again. Not after that conversation. Not after the way I walked out. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I'd finally set a boundary, and meant it. I told myself I was done. No more back and forth. No more late night texts. No more watching him live 2 lives while I sat on the sidelines. I was tired of being the almost. But life has a way of messing with your resolve. A week later, I was in the middle of a Zoom call, headphones in, trying to look engaged while someone droned on about KPI alignment when I noticed my phone light up. Just a buzz at first. Then another. And another. When the meeting finally ended, I checked it. Ben, 9:42 a.m. I told him. Ben, 9:43 a.m. About us. Ben, 9:45 a.m. I told Nate everything. I just stared at the screen. 3 short messages. But my whole body was tense, like my nervous system had short-circuited. My first thought, why now? My second, what the hell does that mean? Before I could type anything back, he followed up with another text. Ben, 9:47 a.m. Can we talk? Please. I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure I wanted to. After all the back and forth, after everything, I wasn't sure I had anything left to give, but curiosity, or maybe something dumber, kept my thumb hovering over his name. Eventually, I just sent, me, 9:51 a.m. Where? We met at this little park halfway between both our apartments. Somewhere neutral. It was early afternoon, but the sky was gray, threatening rain. The whole place felt like it was holding its breath. Ben was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench, staring out at the duck pond like it held some kind of answer. When he saw me, he stood. Hey, he said softly. I stayed a few feet away, hands in my pockets. So, he rubbed the back of his neck. I told him everything about us, the kiss, the messages, the night I came to your place. My stomach flipped. How'd he take it? Ben let out a humorless laugh. Not great, I raised an eyebrow. He yelled, called me a coward, said he knew something was wrong for months but didn't want to believe it. I nodded slowly. And now? We're done, Ben said simply. He packed a bag and left this morning. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. Another part, the part that still had some tattered shred of empathy, felt weirdly sad for him, for Nate, for Ben, too, in a way. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, Ben added quickly. I needed to stop lying. To him, to myself, to you. I sat down on the bench beside him, not close, not far. You should have done it sooner, I said quietly. I know. A beat passed. Was it because of me? I asked. Or because you were just done? He looked over at me, and for once he didn't dodge the question. Both, he said. I stayed with him because it was familiar. Safe. But you made me want something different. Not just exciting. Real. That word hung in the air. Real. I didn't want to let myself believe it. So, what now? I asked cautiously. Ben looked at me with that same expression I remembered from that first night. Hopeful, nervous, a little reckless. Now, I figure out who I am without him, and if you're open to it, maybe I get to be with someone who actually sees me, who I don't have to hide. I took a breath. I don't want to be your rebound, I said. You're not, he said firmly. You never were. I studied his face, trying to read the truth in it. For the first time, I didn't feel like he was performing. I didn't see the guy who played both sides, who flinched when things got too real. I saw someone stripped down, raw, human. I don't know if I can just jump into something, I admitted. Not after everything. I'm not asking you to, he said. I just want a chance to do this right, to start over. Another pause. He added, and if you tell me to walk away, I will. I'll respect that. I just couldn't not say something. Not after what I put you through. I stared out at the pond, watching two ducks drift slowly across the water. Then I said, I'm not telling you to walk away. And when I turned to look at him again, I saw it. That smile. Not cocky. Not flirtatious. Just relieved. It was strange how things shifted after that conversation. Not immediately. Not like a light switch flipping from darkness to clarity. It was slower. Quieter. More like the steady way the air changes before a storm finally breaks. Ben and I didn't start dating right away. In fact, we didn't really call it anything at first. He texted more, checked in, asked about my day, sent me songs he thought I'd like. And when we did hang out, it wasn't like before, not stolen time, not moments wrapped in guilt and silence. We met in public. We sat across from each other in cafes. We talked. He was different, not perfect, far from it, but more present, more thoughtful. He didn't flinch when I brought up the past, He didn't avoid the hard conversations. And that, more than anything, was what made me believe him when he said he wanted something real. Still, I kept my guard up. I couldn't help it. My heart had scar tissue now, soft in some places, but still bruised. I told him as much one night as we walked home from a bar, our hands brushing but not quite holding. "I want to trust this," I said, my voice barely above the hum of the city around us. "But I need you to understand that I'm still figuring out how." Ben stopped walking. He looked at me like he had that night in the park. No defenses, no charm, just raw truth. "I know," he said, "and I'll wait as long as it takes." That mattered. More than anything. A few weeks later, we were at his apartment. Just the two of us. The space felt different than the last time I had been there, back when it still had Nate's stuff in it. Now, there were empty shelves, a second toothbrush missing from the holder, silence in the corners where a second person used to live. He looked around like he was still adjusting to it himself. "First time I've ever lived alone," he said, handing me a beer. "It's weird, but kinda good weird." I sat on the edge of the couch, taking a sip. "You figuring out who you are?" He grinned, slowly. "Apparently I hate almond milk, and I don't know how to fold fitted sheets. Terrifying revelations. Oh yeah, life-changing." We sat there for a while, talking. Nothing heavy, just music, dumb movies, favorite books we'd lied about reading. At some point, I noticed he wasn't looking at me like he used to, with that mix of guilt and want. Now, it was just want. Pure and focused. Like he wasn't waiting for me to tell him how to feel. When he leaned in, I didn't pull away. We kissed. Not like before, not urgent or hungry or desperate. It was slow, grounded. His hand moved to my chest, resting there, steady. Like he needed to feel my heartbeat to believe it was real. Later, we sat with the window open, the city humming softly outside. "I never thought I'd be here," he said, his voice low. "Not just with you, but like this, honest." I looked over at him. "Does it feel like starting over?" He nodded. "Yeah, but better, because this time I'm not pretending I don't know what I want." I wanted to ask what that was, to hear it out loud. But something about the way he looked at me said it all. I wasn't the other guy anymore. I was the guy, the one he chose, the one he stayed for. Still, part of me was waiting for the past to come back, for Nate to reappear, for Ben to get cold feet, for something to snap us back into that ugly limbo where everything hurt and nothing made sense. But it didn't. Instead, he started showing up. He'd bring coffee to my office when he had time, text me random things that made him think of me, suggest plans for the weekend that didn't involve dark bars or secret locations, just us in the open, the way couples do when they're not hiding. People at work noticed, of course. One afternoon, a coworker leaned over and said, "You and Ben hanging out a lot these days, huh?" I paused, then smiled. "Yeah," I said. "We are." No lies, no deflection, just the truth. And it felt good. Still, we hadn't defined anything. Not officially. There was this unspoken agreement between us that labels would come later, when it felt right. And strangely, that didn't bother me. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't need the label to feel chosen. It was in the way he reached for my hand in public. In the way he introduced me to people with pride. In the way he looked at me like I was the beginning of something, not the middle of a mistake. It was a Thursday morning when it hit me, the shift. I was brushing my teeth, standing in front of my bathroom mirror, and I realized I hadn't checked Ben's socials in days. Not to see if he posted something with Nate, not to decode any cryptic captions, not to torture myself with what-ifs. Because I didn't need to, I wasn't guessing anymore. It had taken months to get here, longer than I probably admitted to anyone else. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I was waiting to be chosen. I was chosen. We still hadn't had the big "so what are we" talk, but things were different now. We spent weekends together without awkward exits. We stayed the night at each other's places without worrying who might see. His friends knew about me. Mine were starting to see it too. There was no need to whisper anymore. Still, part of me knew we had one more conversation to have. The one we'd both been sidestepping, even as everything else seemed to fall into place. Nate. I didn't ask about him. Not directly. I figured if Ben wanted to talk about it, he would. But something about not addressing it had started to itch under my skin, like a song stuck in the back of my throat I hadn't sung yet. That weekend, we went to this quiet wine bar across town. Cozy, dim, soft jazz playing in the background like a movie scene. We were tucked into a booth, his knee brushing mine, a shared plate of olives we weren't even touching between us. I ran into Nate, he said, out of nowhere. I looked up from my glass, heartbeat spiking. Where? Whole Foods, he said, letting out a dry laugh. Of all places. What happened? He took a moment. He looked fine, Ben said. Better than I expected. He didn't yell, didn't make a scene, just looked at me and said, So you're happy now? I waited. And you said? I said yes, Ben replied, and I meant it. A long silence stretched between us. Not awkward, just full. He asked if it was you, Ben added, quieter now. And I told him yes, that it's been you for a while. I didn't know what to say to that. So I didn't say anything. I just reached across the table and touched his hand. He turned his palm up, laced our fingers together, and exhaled. I know I've made mistakes, he said. I know I hurt people, hurt you, but I'm not running from that. I'm not pretending I'm some perfect boyfriend. I want this. I want you. If you'll have me. There it was. The thing I'd waited months to hear. The sentence that, back when I was crying alone in my apartment, I would have given anything to believe. I'm not perfect either, I said. But yeah, I'll have you. His thumb brushed over mine. And just like that, it was done. There was no applause, no spotlight, no swelling music. Just two people in a booth, holding hands, trying to get it right. We left the bar and walked through the city like it was ours. We didn't rush, we didn't talk much, just the quiet comfort of knowing we didn't have to explain ourselves anymore. When we got back to my place, he kissed me slow. The kind of kiss that doesn't ask for anything, but still gives everything. And that night, he didn't go home. The next morning, I woke up before him. He was sprawled across the bed, hair a mess, face buried in my pillow, one arm thrown across my stomach, like he belonged there. Like we had always been like this. I laid there staring at the ceiling, my chest rising with each steady breath. And for the first time, the question didn't feel heavy anymore. What are we? We were something new, something that had survived the mess. That morning, he stirred, blinked up at me and mumbled, You watching me sleep? Just wondering if I should charge you rent for taking over my bed? I teased. He smirked, nuzzling closer. Worth every penny. And then he said it. Soft, sleepy, but clear. I love you. 3 words. No dramatic buildup, no hesitation. Just the truth, dropped gently between us. I looked at him, half laughing, half scared. Are you sure? He nodded. I've been sure. I didn't say it back right away, not because I didn't feel it, but because I did. Too much, too deeply, and it scared the hell out of me. But a few minutes later, as he pulled me closer, still half asleep, I whispered it back. I love you too. Not just because he chose me, but because this time, I was choosing him back. 6 months later, Ben still leaves his socks everywhere. I find them in the weirdest places, on the kitchen counter, wedged between couch cushions, once even in the freezer. He insists that one was a mistake. I remain unconvinced. But I don't mind. Not like I would have before, back when everything felt fragile and uncertain. When I was clinging to his texts like lifelines and holding my breath every time he said he needed to figure things out. Now, we laugh about the socks. I throw them at his head and he whines dramatically. And then we end up tangled on the floor, breathless, both of us still shocked, in that quiet internal way that we actually got here. Because the truth is, I didn't think we would. And even if we had, I didn't think it would feel this easy. Not easy, like effortless. Not without bumps or weird silences or days when one of us is off and doesn't want to talk. But easy like safe, like I know where I stand. Like I don't have to scan his tone or decode his silences or wonder if I'm just the stand-in for someone he's not ready to leave behind. That version of Ben, the one who couldn't decide, he's still there, somewhere in his past, but he's not the one I'm waking up next to anymore. Now he leaves me notes on the fridge when I have early meetings. Now he makes me playlists for when I'm having a bad day. Now he reaches for my hand without looking around first. We still haven't posted anything about each other. Not because we're hiding, not anymore, but because, weirdly, it feels kind of nice having something that's just ours. Private in a way that's intimate, not secretive. My friends know. His friends know. The people that matter, they know. That's enough. A couple weeks ago, we ran into someone from work. Our old office, the one where all this started. It was at the grocery store, of all places. She smiled, clearly surprised, and said, "Wow, you two still talk?" Ben just smiled and said, "Yeah, we talk a lot." I caught his glance after that half grin he saves for me, and I thought, yeah, we really do. We talk, we fight, we love, we live. We're not some secret anymore. The other night, we were sitting on the balcony of his apartment, the new one, the one he moved into after Nate, after the chaos, after deciding to start over. We had a couple drinks, a blanket wrapped around us, the city buzzing quietly below. And out of nowhere, he said, "I think about that night sometimes, the cab." I knew exactly which night he meant. "That was the beginning," he added. I turned to him. "No," I said. "The beginning was when you decided to be honest." He didn't argue. He just reached for my hand, gave it a gentle squeeze, and said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I thought about everything, the doubt, the distance, the pain of being the other guy, and how easy it would have been to walk away. But I didn't. Because I knew. I knew who he was under the layers. I saw the version of him that wanted more. Not just with me, but with himself. The one that was scared to let go of what was comfortable. The one who finally did. And I know not every story like this ends well. A lot of people stay the other guy. A lot of people wait and get left behind. I was almost one of them. But Ben chose me. And I chose him back. And now? Now we're not just something real. We're something good.